Hey folks, good afternoon. This is Joseph Barlotta with Supercharger America. Hey, real quick, so wanted to shoot a quick video. I know recently, yesterday, actually the day before yesterday, it was on Monday, Tesla just announced their first V4 Supercharger out in Redwood City, California. Now, I'll tell you that Tesla's head of charging, Max DeZager, basically commented on this. I'll try to share a post with you all, but basically it was pretty interesting. You have AC in, 16 trays, DC out. Now, if you can put a 1000 volt architecture coming in at 16 trays, that gives about 62.5 volts per tray on the inverters that are inside this cabinet, which is pretty astounding. So you look at the supporting architecture that Tesla Supercharger system will be able to support with this new rollout. It's basically 400 to 1000 volt to 1000 volt architecture vehicles, which is basically all of Tesla vehicles plus the Cybertruck, being the Cybertruck's the first 1000 volt charging system vehicle that they have. You can look at that with their dual pole, dual throttle DP/DT switch that they actually have inside the Tesla Cybertruck that literally just clamps down when you have the ability to be able to charge at that rate and that speed, which gives the Cybertruck the ability to actually charge at 500 kW. I don't necessarily know if any other vehicles will be able to charge at that super speed, but basically these V4 cabinets will be able to support the Cybertruck at 500 kW and, of course, Tesla Semi at 1.2 megawatts of charging. I mean, you look at these posts, I mean, they're coming in at 3 times the power density, 2 times the stalls per cabinet, which basically means 8 stalls per cabinet, which, 4 and 4 each direction. So that really gives Tesla the ability to stretch their bandwidth, especially when it comes to like the density of kind of parking lot areas and maybe some of the availability constraints that they've actually had with some of the site hosts that they've proven. Overall, you look at higher throughput, higher efficiency, faster deployment, lower cost per stall. If you look at this, I mean, they're shooting at, anything probably, underneath $40,000 per stall. We're seeing on our front via supercharging infrastructure and 35,000 chargers that we've installed, we probably are looking at Tesla reaching somewhere around $33,000 per stall with this deployment. So that's where we're seeing. Of course, their first supercharger deployment was out in Redwood City, California. Redwood City is kind of like, I guess, in between San Francisco and Fremont, and there's basically a little, there's a bridge that basically where you go south down, San Francisco, and then you head over to Fremont, and like kind of right at that corridor is where Redwood City, California is. And so it's kind of an ideal spot if you're going to do it there, right? It's closer to homes, closer to their engineering headquarters, and closer to their Tesla Fremont factory. Really good spot in my opinion. If you're going to do it there. You look at every single site that's built for Tesla Superchargers. If you recall, about 2 years ago, Tesla started putting the V4 stalls inside their supercharger sites, but they still had the V3 cabinets there. Now, keep in mind that every single one of these supercharger sites that are built, Tesla calls for inside their plans for future proofing, which basically means that they're using a lot larger conduit to sleeve into these cabinet stalls than basically you really need to put in. I mean, if you think about the conduit fill, okay, that's a term in the electric industry. Conduit fill basically means that you cannot exceed 40% of the volume for your wires inside the actual conduit when you're sleeving those wires through all of your conduits. And so typically, given the wiring size that Tesla would need from each cabinet to each stall, you pretty much really only need but maybe 2-inch conduit, and you're still in compliance with that 40% conduit fill rule, which is NEC dictates. So if you look at Tesla being, mandating that their electrical contractors, when they're putting this infrastructure in, put in extra large conduit, all that means is that they'll just simply have to just sleeve out old wire and put new wire in when they finally take the old V3 cabinet out and put the V4 cabinet in. And so therefore, that's all you really have to do to really upgrade a site. Nothing else. I mean, so think about the advanced power electronics that have to kind of correlate inside these cabinets in order for it to get done. You just swap out the V3 cabinet, put the V4 cabinet in. The V4 stalls are already in place. You just switch out the wire. That's it. You're done. Site's been upgraded from a V3 to a V4 supercharger site, like a legit V4 supercharger site. So what we're seeing, that first deployment out in Redwood City, that's really good, but it is, kind of a signal to the point where now that Tesla has this technology out there with the V4 cabinetry, which we'll do a whole new episode with the V4 cabinetry just in itself and what all it's designed and kind of the fundamentals behind it. But for the most part, I just wanted to make sure that you guys understood that Tesla mandates all of their sites when installing by electrical certified, electricians, that we're putting in larger conduit than necessarily has to. And that's of course the 40% conduit fill rule. You're looking at the Cybertruck being charged at 500 kW, which is intense. Not sure what that's going to do to the integrity of the battery pack. I'm sure Tesla has advanced power electronics in their cooling systems, their thermal management systems, their battery management systems, and so we haven't really saw the effects of this once it actually does happen. Maybe 2-3 years, and what does that do to the battery packs? But in essence, we do see that at 500 kW for the Cybertruck, Teslas are getting at somewhere around 1,442 miles per hour when it comes to charge. That is intense. That's pretty intense. And so, that being said, definitely wanted to shoot this video just to kind of share the importance of how monumental this is. Most of the time, Tesla got poo-pooed on when they started putting in the V4 stalls and they were only producing the 250 kW power. Well, guess what, guys? Even if you have a new Tesla Model Y or Model S or Model X, like, you're going to pull up to these V4 cabinets and you're still going to get the max 250 kW. The vehicles themselves are, and the inverter technology that's inside the actual vehicle themselves are limited when it comes to DC power acceptance. And so even though, you're pulling up to that V4 stall and you may have the V4 cabinet, you may still not get that 500 kW because of the inverter limitations that the physical vehicle, the hardware, will mandate. And so it'll be interesting to see that when Tesla does flip that switch, perhaps some of the hardware that they've been using with an over-the-air update can be unlocked to be able to maybe extend or expand that charging parameter when it comes to hey, my vehicle was charging at 200, was limited around 240, 250 kW, but now it can go 350 kW, or maybe now it can do 500 kW. It all depends on the hardware. So I just wanted to make sure, just because Tesla's released this V4 cabinet doesn't necessarily mean that your vehicle will be able to charge at that 500 kW rate. Only the Cybertruck right now and the Semi are the ones that are able to hit that 500 and 1.2 megawatt charging speed. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to plug in your new Model 3 or Y or S or X and be able to hit that until Tesla has basically initiated those software updates and or your vehicle's hardware that it actually has, your inverter hardware, is able to hit those ranges. So there may be some limitations on the inverter, on the DC inverter side of the hardware on each one of the vehicles. And so once we get a little bit more in-depth information on that, we'll release another episode. But some really exciting news. I mean, guys, the first V4 cabinet, this is the one that we've all been waiting for, okay? The first V4 cabinet coming in, ACN, 16 trays, which are inverters, and pushing DC out. Supporting 400 volt architect to 1,000 volt architect. That's huge. Tesla Cybertrucks, their DP-DT switch is coming on, and we're seeing that basically clamp down, and boom, you're seeing the results of that. 1.2 megawatts for semi chargers, 3 times the power density, 2 times the stalls per cabinet, which is 8. That's 4 on each side. It's huge. So it's less of a footprint, more of a charging expanse, which we like to see. Higher throughput, higher efficiency, faster deployment, lower cost per stall. Probably going to be somewhere around $33,000 per stall, which is insane. Insane. Look at it compared to the NEVI funds and with the Shell recharge and the Electrify Americas and the EV Goes of the world. They're averaging $635,000 per stall. That's what they're averaging at these sites. Tesla is an order of magnitude cheaper and more efficient and more power. And more stalls. I wouldn't say an order of magnitude more stalls. Tesla's going to average somewhere, they've been averaging around 10 sites per stall, but they've also been averaging somewhere around, I'd say 35 superchargers coming online literally every single week. They just released an article or an update on their Q3 figures. I believe it was 4,000 chargers that were installed in the quarter, like just this quarter, 4,000 installs that were done this quarter. I believe it was some, the numbers are monumental. I believe it was a 31% increase year over year with regards to the amount of charging systems that were deployed or the charging sessions that actually took place. Monumental task for Tesla Supercharger team. This is a supercharger team that literally with a blip, Elon dismantled, rebuilt from the ground up again, much like he did with the staff at Twitter. Came in, these guys are basically 85% less staff members, and they're doing the same exact amount of work. And now Tesla's shifting that deployment from them taking on the infrastructure pressures, and now they're giving that away to the private sector with their new supercharging deployment rollout, where you can white label the supercharger. You can bring it on site. We're working closely with Tesla Supercharger team to be able to give our private customers that ability to do that. So now that being said, you can actually reach out to Smart Charge America. We can take care of your residential EV charging infrastructure, your commercial EV charging infrastructure. And if you're interested in supercharging, contact us at smartchargeamerica.com, and you can literally get a supercharger put on your site. And so there's, of course, a little bit of vetting and stuff like that we'll go through with you and give you a little rundown on what Tesla is actually looking for to match their components, their hardware and software stack. But you guys got it. It's here. It's first. I just wanted to bring this one episode to you all. We love what Max Dezager and the Tesla Supercharger team, Tesla charging team is doing. Couldn't be more proud of you guys. Congratulations. A long time coming. This is a monumental shift in what Tesla is able to do for the charging industry and EVs as a whole. Super excited. Can't wait to bring you guys more. Thanks again. Join us. You can reach us at smartchargeamerica.com. Like, subscribe, comment if you like our video. Let us know if we earned it. We'll see you soon. Cheers, guys.